Hey, it's Jackson Lamb. Today, we're talking about irrigating a new part of the garden here. In our previous video, we talked about irrigation, and we talked about the different types of irrigation. Over here on my in my backyard, I've got my containers. There's 6 of them, and they're all tied into a separate zone, which is part of the lawn sprinkler system. So that's a pretty ingenious technique for us. And I can also control the timing. So I can, since we just planted everything this weekend, I can just have little bursts of water every day in the morning before the sun comes out. Today, what we're doing is we're specializing in helping out our new friends over here, the potager, or the potager. That's French for the chef's garden, typically full of herbs. Well, this is an old flower box that we had hanging on the other side of the house under a bay window years ago. And we planted a bunch of lilac bushes in front of that window. And of course, they've been there 20 years. We haven't seen this flower box forever. So I ripped it off and I brought it into the backyard, painted the thing, and I decided to fill it full of rosemary. So now we've got a situation. I've got to get irrigation over here to the rosemary potager. A few different options. Since we already have irrigation right here, it's only 4 feet away. Well, I don't want to trip over anything, and I can't, I don't want to have it going over the top. I could dig up all the bricks and run a line under the patio and then pour all the bricks down, but that's too much work, okay? Also, once I get water back here, how am I going to handle that? So a few different issues. In a previous video, we talked about different types of sprinklers or bubblers, and you know, these either spray or they just bubble. And while that would work over there, in fact, I'll tell you, there's a this is exactly the way this would work. Here is a line coming in from the main. This first sprinkler would get tied into this line here. The second sprinkler would be tied into this line here. And that's how we would set up these containers. But I don't want to have all these bubblers in this exposed, upraised garden bed, if you will. I've chosen instead to go a little bit more efficient and use the drip line that we talked about during the irrigation video. The way this works is every foot there is a hole that allows just a slow drip through the entire length of the line. So that sounds good to me. So my plan, I'm going to make a big loop so that the water is coming and going. How do I do that? I'm going to use a T-fitting. That's what that looks like. It's a T-fitting. And what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this right here while we're talking, I'm going to put, so here's the T. I'm going to put this into here. And it's all very, very tight. Okay, that one's in. I'm going to get the other end of my drip line. And I'm going to go into the other end of the T. So as I push this in, now I've got a complete loop. I've got a complete loop with the third part of the T. That's where the water comes in. So let me lay this out over here. When I put this down, we have these long staples that we use to keep the line in place. So I'm down here and I've got the microphone with me, so I'll just describe what I'm doing. So I want to make sure that I don't have, as it's coming down one side and then going up the other, I want to make sure that they're not watering at the same place and then not watering another place. So it does take a little bit of negotiating here to get this all where you want it. And of course, we're trying to be nice to Mother Nature. We don't want to have anything happen to the plants that are already there. All right, we got to straighten this out a little bit more. Bring this down. And it looks like I'm not going to take it that far. All right, good. So if we come here, you know, I might have to trim this down later on But you get the idea how this all comes down. So now what? Well, I'm not going to tie into the backyard system. I'm going to run this around to the front. I've got 100 feet of polypropylene tubing. It's black, but when we get to the end of this, it's somewhere around here. There we go. That's the water source that's going to plug into that third part of the T. So that's where that's going. And then when I run this out to the front, two things are going to happen. One is I'm going to use this tool, and then I'm going to use a special fitting. Let me get that out of here so you can see. All right, so let's take a look at this. That is an awl, and that's designed to punch a hole into the half-inch line that's laying out front. Once I pop a hole in there, water is going to be coming out. I'll have to plug it. The system's not on it. It's not going to be spraying, but I'm going to use this event here. This is kind of like the T. This is just a joiner. And what's going to happen is I'll stick this on the end of this hose, and then that'll go into the half-inch main. And when the sprinklers go off tonight at 10 o'clock, Rosemary will have water. That's the way it works. Hey, it's Chef Jackson Lamb. I'm out of here. See you later.